Up until about a year ago, I had never used Twitter. And like I assume a lot of people, I had only heard negative things about the platform. But as I continued my endeavors on YouTube, I found myself wanting to be able to connect with people in different platforms and continue to learn more about the gaming space and Bungie and whatever else. What I found is that while, yes, there is quite a bit of toxicity on the website, is that there are a large number of creatives who are sharing a lot of detailed information about their creative process and their understanding about whatever their field is. Game developers in particular, especially indie devs, seem to be sharing some of the most creative and interesting things happening in the gaming space on Twitter in these convenient little blurbs that really give a ton of insight for players like myself who are laymen's in the creative field into exactly what they're thinking when they're developing the games that they're working on. I am obviously behind the curve on this, as it seems like artists have been doing this on Twitter for a very long time. But to me, it felt like a Vidoc from the Bungie Halo era, where we're getting these awesome, insightful moments directly from the mouths of those creating these games, not filtered through marketing or advertisements. So I really enjoyed discovering a lot of these creative people and the projects they're working on. And one that has stayed with me has been Pigface by Tito. And goddamn, have I been excited to play this game. Pigface is a sandbox FPS game that gives the player access to a litany of weapons and tools that allow you to accomplish your missions in the way you see fit. And it really calls back on the nostalgia of early 2000s horror films or even Manhunt to create a feel that is eclectic and new, and it is a blast to play. And getting to see the game grow and develop through the eyes of Tito when he's sharing these awesome little gameplay snippets or explosions or animations that he's working on has made the feeling of playing the game at the end feel so much more whole and complete to understand some aspect or component of the journey that it took to get to the point where it is now, released in early access on Steam. You play as Exit, a woman clearly capable of immense violence who has had a bomb drilled into her head and is now being blackmailed by a shadowy crime organization to commit mass amounts of violence and operations on their behalf. Your home base is a dingy apartment filled with moths and empty beer bottles and a crime scene in your kitchen. The way that you get your guns is through a black market dealer on a website. It's just got such a great, unique feel that is this amalgam of a bunch of dark and brooding things that I've enjoyed in other games that I just can't quite put into words how much this game is right up my alley in a lot of unique ways. But I do feel like it's an experience that a lot of people can get enjoyment out of. Right now, the game features 4 main maps and also a tutorial level, and you can replay all of these maps. Each map has 3 objectives that you can complete to get cash, and you use the cash to buy the upgrades, weapons, armor, mines, grenade launchers, morphine, stuff like this, melee weapons, so you can more effectively accomplish the tasks as they grow in complexity. The maps start off smaller and gradually get bigger, and the strategies that you have available to you to accomplish these missions are kind of entirely up to you. Setting the enemies into a frenzy and then leading them into a larger group before blasting them with the grenade launcher, or maybe laying down a trail of mines and slowly pulling one enemy at a time and having them ragdoll off into the sunset, or standing back like a sniper and popping heads with a suppressed weapon are all viable options for you depending on what you want to do. You could also light up a cigarette, the power buff item, grab your shotgun, and mow people down like you are Anton Chigurh, which is obviously always enjoyable. You can also equip your silenced pistol and take the solid snake approach to sneak in, and the stealth does feel pretty good. It is obviously still in early access and being developed, so I do think that the sneaking system is going to get upgraded as development continues, because there are some moments where they seem to be locking onto you through a wall, or maybe seeing you in some way that isn't lined up exactly with what is occurring in the gameplay. But the stealth is still a viable option that makes for a fun experience, and also a pretty hefty challenge when you're trying to handle some of the larger maps and not alert everybody who's in the vicinity. And the maps also feature some unique elements, like there is a train station map that actively has a train running through it. So you can, bait enemies into getting hit by the train, or accidentally get splat by the train yourself. Another element that changes the gameplay a little bit is the mask system. And yes, all of the masks are classic, horrific, Halloween-themed style masks that offer slight gameplay changes. For example, one mask allows you to heal up half of your health without using the morphine healing item. Another mask gives you a slight chance on a kill to enter a slow-mo mode that allows you to gun down enemies with insane precision. And like I said, they're all horrific to look at and add an additional little collectible for you to scrounge through the maps to find. The story also seems to be going in an interesting direction, and it feels a lot like Hotline Miami. So if that kind of dark underworld theme meets, like I said, this kind of Saw world and these kind of dark, gloomy moth colors and stuff like that, I think it's something that'll be up your alley. Although in the part of the game that we have access to now, there's not a ton of story beats. You basically get a blurb written in the beginning of the mission, and then you'll get some dialogue at the end of the mission, giving some insight into who your shadowy boss is working for and what their goals might be in the larger scheme of the narrative. If I were to draw some comparisons of things that might kind of fall in line with, like, oh, if you like this kind of story, maybe you'll like the Pigface story. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking of like Dragged Across Concrete, Killing Them Softly, Sicario, maybe with a little bit less government elements and just kind of the black market underworld side of things. So if you like those kind of stories or movies, perhaps you'll be aligned with thinking that this kind of narrative is cool. I will say that I think at this point I have about 4 hours played, and like I said, I've 100%ed everything. I think I've gotten all of the items, I've completed all the missions and all the side objectives or the optional objectives, and I think the only thing I'm missing is, yeah, finding one or two masks, the collectible items, and then I will have finished everything. I will also say, though, that I am going to be jumping back into this game and replaying the missions, because it is fun to see how they dynamically change based off the weapons you bring in and how you choose to approach the mission. And it just has that kind of comfort food style game feel that allows you to replay it with a sense of, okay, I know all the rooms and the areas here, but it's still enjoyable to experience it again and mindlessly mow down these thugs that are attacking me and saying the most excellent, cliche, classic gamer enemy things as they run towards you. I do think that alongside a consistent addition of maps and new weapons and tools and ways to interact with the worlds, I think that this game will continue to be a worthy investment of both time and the $10 that it's going for on Steam. Because like I said, the gameplay systems itself are very enjoyable and have a lot of replayability. Now, this could all be related to a very specific attachment that I personally have to the visual presentation and the simpler times of FPS, but I do think that it's worth grabbing, especially if you like supporting indie devs and if any of the themes or gameplay mechanics I've talked about seem to interest you. I also want to let you know that I will be talking to Tito, the creator of Pigface, this coming week. So if you have any questions you want me to ask him, leave them in the comments and maybe I'll get to it and my interview with him. And have a good day. All right, bye.